Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Mr. J. This is W.A.D. Mtg. Welcome to W.a.D. Mtg headquarters. Yes, I finally got my new house. Congratulations to me. And because of that, I've been able to start to relax a little bit and unpack all my shit, get my magic shit around, get my station set up. That's how my station is going now. Look at all that landscape for magic decks. So I'm going to play spell table and build magic decks right here. Got my little setup started. All my deck builder stuff, all my lands and all my rares and all my golds and all my sleeves and, like hard tops and stuff like that. Got all that stuff ready to go, all my bulk setting out so I can reach and go through that at any time. I've got like a deck builder kit sitting over there in the closet. So that way, if I can access like a good card or a staple or something, it's real easy and it's at reach. I can just go through a box and see it right there and pull it out, build my deck with it. So this is it. This is the start of it. I'm gonna pimp it out over time. Put up all my posters and memorabilia and like comic book art and dorky stuff and all that stuff's gonna go in this room. But as of right now, I just got my little magic studio set up for spell table and deck building, and I plan to do like recorded games in the future, either in this room or in my kitchen. And I'll just set up the webcam and do that kind of stuff, as well as more arena content now that I'm finally settled in and starting to get used to living in my house. So today I wanted to cover the BnR announcement because I'm running a little late. I said I was going to cover it. I planned on covering it, so I'm going to cover it. So the other day, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday last week, I was just finishing up on my vacation, getting ready to get off vacation, go back to work. Went back to work Friday and was back home this weekend. So I decided to do the video. So the BnR announcement for Commander had 5 cards come off the banned and restricted list. It was Gifts Ungiven. Yeah, I'm going to stop and talk about each card. Gifts Ungiven is the most powerful card. It's got the most potential out of the list of unbannings. However, I think the unbannings were kind of like underwhelming, right? Like there were some cards I wanted to see come off the list that I thought could come off the list that I didn't think were too powerful, and I like to see less things banned. I like the game changers list more than a banned list. And you should either, if cards are that powerful, you should limit them in some way, shape, or form. And I get why the ban list exists in Commander. Some cards should be banned. But there are some cards I really thought should have came off, or I really wanted to come off that didn't come off. So I was a little underwhelmed by it. Now, I'm not the type to be like, oh, I want fucking Jewel Lotus and Mana Crypt and Dockside and Nadu and all that shit. No, fuck Nadu. Dockside's a great card. I would like to play with it, but I'm okay with it being banned. Um, even Crypt, that was upsetting because I pulled a couple Crypts in Ixalan during Ixalan when Ixalan came out. I got a couple Crypts, so I was a little upset about that. But Jewel Lotus, I really feel like that card could have came off. Like that was a little bit of a jump. Card specifically designed for Commander can't be played in Commander, even though it's a one of. In many cases, it's like a dark ritual, and there's many other ritual effects that are okay in Magic, and some of them are game changers and some of them aren't. So I really see a valid argument for Jewel Lotus. I don't think Jewel Lotus should be banned. The other one I was really hoping for to come off was Hallbreaker, or Hall Breacher. Not Hallbreaker Horror, but Hall Breacher, the Merfolk. That makes it so where anytime your opponent draws an additional card, they don't get to draw that card, and you get a treasure token. And I see why it's not on here, why it didn't get unbanned, because it is extremely powerful. But in the higher brackets, we're kind of suffering through like a mid-range hell, and that's one of the cards that exist that can break parity on that mid-range meta, is Hull Breacher. So I get why we're going to kind of get it. We're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here. So we're going to come back and talk about Hull Breacher here in a minute and get to the unbanned cards. So Gifts Ungiven. It's like Intuition. It's a whole lot like it. You're going to create a pile. 2 of those cards are going to go to your graveyard. 2 of those cards will go to your hand. So it's almost exactly identical to an Intuition pile for another mana. So it's because it's 4 mana. And it's going to win you the game. It's a combo winning strong card. It's a little bit more mana than Intuition. and there's caveats to it, right? Like instead of 3 cards, there's 4 cards, and it can be played fair. Like it can be played fair, and but it's not gonna be. It's not gonna be. So what people are gonna do is intuition lines with it, and if they play it like I forget the name of that other card, it's another blue card where your opponent, you'll have your opponent split into piles. You'll get a pile that either the pile goes back to the deck or goes to the graveyard. And this one, it goes to the graveyard. And you can choose with Gifts Ungiven. You can just choose 2 cards, and then your opponent immediately has to send them to the graveyard. So it has obscene combo potential. It'll most likely be seen in only the most powerful brackets. Automatic game changer. Completely agree. It could have came off. It's not. There's already other things that do the same exact thing, and other things that do the same thing for less mana. So Gifts Ungiven is just fine. You probably will see it in CDH. It's going to just about any list that's running Underworld Breach. Will run Intuition Piles and Brain Freeze and Grinding Station combos. Are probably going to want Gifts Ungiven, especially like Jeskai, because now you have white for Savine's Reclamation. Great card. That's probably where you'll see it. Sway of the Stars. Completely okay card for 10 mana. It just shuffles your deck, or it shuffles your hand, your field, and your graveyard, everybody's, into their deck. Everybody shuffles, and then they draw 7 cards. Everybody's life is 7. Perfectly okay for 10 mana. There's a lot of things you can do for 10 mana or less mana that are more powerful than Sway of the Stars. In the right deck, it can lead to a win, especially if you're like storming off, and you can create a bunch of mana by the time you play it, and then you can shuffle everything in, and then start rebuilding before everybody else, like a Prowess deck, or something like that. It's got speedy hitters and burn spells and hasty dudes and stuff like that. Those decks will be able to capitalize on Sway of the Stars. Other decks might just play it for fun, and it's most likely going to lead to their defeat. So that's Sway of the Stars, completely fair card. Next on the list would have been Hillary Clinton, and that's Braid's Cabal minion. Evil ass bitch. Super cool card though. It's really, really nasty if you can play it out on like turn 1, like Ritual into it, or Mana Rock Ritual into a Braid's turn 1 if it's your commander. So it's an extremely powerful card, and you'll probably see it in the 99 of some more like aristocrat style themed decks. It probably will see some play in the 99, or some Staxy decks. It probably will see some play in the 99. But it's nastiest as the commander, and if it can come down turn 1, turn 2, it can be very, very good. But otherwise, if it's coming out turn 3, turn 4, it's kind of fair. You should have a little bit on your field. You should be able to pay the cost of the Hillary Clinton Braids and continue to work through that and play around that effect of just, sacrificing your field. Braids completely fair. So we're cool with Braids. Coalition Victory, another fair card here. 5-color card. It costs 8 mana. You need a creature, like a 5-color creature, or a creature of all colors, and like a multicolor land, or lands like in a domain situation. Excuse me. Where you have lands are every basic land type, or everything lands. And then Coalition is a completely okay, reasonable win con. You win the game, you got 8 mana, you got a 5-color creature, you got, multiple different shock lands and things of that nature that have your domain count high enough to win. Sure, that's fine. Completely fair. Panoptic Mirror, not as fair, but it's regulated. We already have Isochron Scepter in the format, and Isochron Scepter is just a better card, but Panoptic Mirror can be very fun. Everybody thinks of Infinite Turns when you think of Panoptic Mirror. You play it, and then you imprint it with a Time Walk or whatever, or not Time Walk, but Time Warp, because Time Walk is one of the banned Power 9 cards. So Time Warp, you put like a Time Warp or something on there, and if they can't do anything about it, you got Infinite Turns. But here's the thing. Bracket 1, 2, and 3, there's no chaining extra turns. So you won't see an unfair Panoptic Mirror in brackets 2 or 3. You'll see it in brackets 4 and 5, where it's completely fair. If you got 10 mana, there's a million other things you can do for 10 mana. And it's very easily responded to and disrupted. So Panoptic Mirror, I'm excited to play it. It's a completely fair card. Very good, very powerful. But in the lower brackets, you'll only see it played fairly. I mean, it'll be abused, right? Like people will put board wipes and shit under it. So just every turn they get to cast a free board wipe, they'll run indestructible creatures or something like that. Ways to get around the fact that they're board wiping every turn. And that's completely fine. It's not winning them the game. It's not a 2-card combo. It's just like a 2-card thing that they get to do that's cool, that they get to do every single turn. And in the higher brackets, it'll be unfair, but there's a million other unfair things you can do. So that's it for the unbanned cards. Like I said, it was a little underwhelming. I would like to see some spicier cards come off that list and go on the Game Changers list that I think are probably okay to play with if you only have 3 Game Changers in your deck. Like even like a Primeval Titan, right? Sure, it can go search out another Game Changer. It can go search out the Ice Wall that makes it so where creatures can attack you. I forget the card that's already on the Game Changers list as well. Or like a Gaia's Cradle or something, which is also on the Game Changers list. You can also go search out like a Dark Depths and some other things that aren't on the Game Changers list, like a Green Tree City or like a Strip Mine. Like a Strip Mine or something like that you need, and you need it now. And maybe a Valakut Molten Pinnacle. So it can get exponentially out of hand. But for 6 mana, you get to any lands, it's really good. It's really good. But it probably won't see even a lot of CEDH play. It might see a little bit of CEDH play, where people are just trying to break it. And in the lower brackets, if that's the thing you're trying to do, like at a level 3, bracket 3, if that's the thing you're trying to do, it's completely fair. Because by the time you get your 3 Game Changers in, that's like the whole plan of the deck. You're trying to search out a Field of the Dead, or you're trying to search out a Gaia's Cradle, or something like that, right? So that's okay, because those cards are already on the Game Changers list as well. Going back to the Game Changers list, I agree with almost all of it. The old Game Changers list for the beta prior to the new announcement, there were some problems that I seen with it. And each and every single one of them were addressed in the additions to the Game Changers list. So all those cards that just got unbanned, they're on it as well. The original cards that were on it are on it, aside from Trouble in Pairs and something else got removed that I didn't think really was a big problem either. I don't remember what it was, but one of them was Trouble in Pairs, and another card got removed from the Game Changers list. Probably didn't belong there. Oh, it was Trinisphere. So Trinisphere is one of them cards where it's an interesting card. It's the only card in Magic that has its own step, like its own resolution step. So if you're cheating the cost of things or reducing or adding to the cost of things, those apply in layers as the effects at the stack. They apply in layers in a certain kind of way. And at the end of all of that, there's Trinisphere. And Trinisphere has its own step. So if you're not really, really, really knowledgeable of the rules of Magic, and you're not like a very experienced player, Trinisphere is probably an okay card. It's like a defense grid, or like a God Pharaoh statue, or something like that, where you're staxing your opponent, which is it's a salty thing. It's something that you probably won't see at the lower brackets, but at the same time, why even have it on the Game Changers list if you're not going to see it at the lower brackets anyways? Because there's already like a stacksy caveat where it's just naturally considered a higher power thing to do. You might see a little bit of stacks in bracket 3 and bracket 4 and bracket 5, but it's not going to be overwhelming. And if Trinisphere is one of the cards you're using to stack your opponent in bracket 3, I feel like that's completely fine. So those cards were removed from the Game Changers list, and the new unbans were added to it, and all these other cards were added to it. First new addition is Humility. And I've never seen anybody play Humility a fair way. It's a super stacksy card. It turns off all your creatures' abilities and makes every creature on the field a 0/1, I believe, or base power 0/1. There's other cards that do similar things, but you really have to build a deck around it to capitalize off it, or you just kind of stalling and adding this stacksy effect that feels bad to the game. It's something I completely 100% agree with. It should be a game changer. You shouldn't see it at lower powers, and if you do, like at a bracket 3, because that's where game changers are starting to be allowed, is bracket 3. Then that's probably an okay thing to have, because you have to build a whole deck around it. So your bracket 3 Humility deck, you really have to put a lot of effort into that to make it fire, or it's not really going to do what you want it to do anyway. So therefore, it's fine. It's also easy to interact with. You can just blow it up. Don't have to worry about the layers or whatever you got going on with humility. T-Pro, Teferi's Protection. There are many cards like it, but that one sits in kind of a tier of its own with that style of effect. So there's cards like Angel's Grace, which is like a CEDH staple card, where you can't lose the game, where it kind of only does one half of Teferi's Protection. There's other cards that do give you protection from everything, right? Like the One Ring, but it also doesn't phase all your stuff out. There's other cards that phase all your stuff out, but it also doesn't protect you from losing life or losing the game. So T-Pro just does kind of sit in its own little tier of protection pieces. And I have a few friends that were a little upset about it because they like to run T-Pro. But, you know, if you want to run a card that powerful, just build up your level 3s. If you really got your heart set on Teferi's Protection, build up your level 3, turn it into a level 4, and run it in that deck. You shouldn't have T-Pro in every fucking deck that you play that has white in it. You really shouldn't. It's good, but it's not that damn good. At the lower brackets, it's probably a little better because that's where you're more likely to see board wipes and things of that nature on a more regular basis. So making it a game changer, I agree with it. I've got no problem with it. T-Pro, it's a game changer. All right, so after that, I already talked about Trouble in Pairs, how it was removed. I didn't really feel like it was that great of a card, and it's a card that's needed in the format. I'm not going to talk about the art or like the controversy surrounding the card. I still really like the card. White needs card draw, and lately it's gotten quite a bit of it, and I think that probably is the top tier card draw card in white, and it does kind of sit at a level like Smothering Tithe, but there's not as broken things as you can do with it that you can do with like Smothering Tithe. It's not as good as Ristic. It's not as good as Mystic. It's not as good as, you know, a lot of these cards that are going to do some of the similar advantage thing where you're trying to get like a massive amount of fucking mana or a massive amount of fucking card draw, right? So it kind of fills the gap. It puts like a patch in that spot for white, and I'm completely okay with Trouble in Pairs. So I agree with that as well. Moving on, Consecrated Sphinx was added to the list. It gives a massive amount of card draw. You probably shouldn't see it in lower tiers, and if you do, that's a card that's gonna make you, you know, the villain at the table, where people are all gonna gang up on you because you got a Con Sphinx. You're gonna drown everybody in card advantage, and there's nothing they can really do unless they kind of make deals and band together until they can get you under control. So you're about to explode with a Con Sphinx. Completely agree with it. It's completely fine. Intuition, also, it should have been there. Should have been there. It's a card that you normally only see at the highest level of Magic. So a lot of these cards that you only see at the highest level of Magic should be on this list because they lead to stupid, broken things that people can do to win the game that are difficult to interact with. If you can resolve an Intuition, you basically got a guaranteed win. If you're Underworld Breaching in that turn and you can produce a little bit more mana, or your Gifts Ungiven, or whatever. So, Intuition, completely agree, should have always been on there. I appreciate that it's on there now. Narset Parter Veils. This is where I want to back up a little bit and talk about Hull Breacher. If Narset is okay, and if, what's the other guy? Where's his name? Notion Thief. So if Notion Thief is okay, and Narset is okay, why isn't Hull Breacher okay? Because it's the best effect of its class in that way. So people can run, Notion Thief, right? But Notion Thief has 1 toughness, so it's very easy to kill with Orcish Bowmasters. The Hull Breacher, it has, I think it's a 2-3, a 2-2 or a 2-3, so it's a little harder to kill. It's a little harder to kill than Narset, and you can do busted things with all of them. Orcish Bowmasters, Narset, Hullbreaker, Notion Thief. Just hit a wheel. Everybody wheels. Nobody else can draw their extra cards. You get all those extra cards. But with Notion Thief, you get all those cards, and you take a damage. And with Narset's a Planeswalker. It's a lot easier to remove a Planeswalker in a 4-player game than a creature, even though it's still pretty easy to remove a creature. And Notion Thief has Flash. So I really feel like they're kind of all strong in their own ways. Like Narset can fetch. It's got an ability as a planeswalker, it can downtick and get you a card. So it has some card filtering and some hand filtering involved in Narset as well. So each one kind of has their own strategic advantage. And I just feel like if Narset is okay, if Notion Thief is okay, if Orcish Bowmasters is okay, and they're all on the Game Changers list, Hall Breacher should have got unbanned. But moving on, Narset, right? We talked about kind of nailed a few cards here. Orcish Bowmasters was coming up on the list, and so was Notion Thief. So I'm glad I was able to kind of bunch it all into one segment where I just talked about those couple cards for a second and can move right on and skip past them. So Necropotence, not Necro Dominance, although they're both kind of doing the exact same thing. Necro Dominance can be a little worse, right? Because your hand size is limited to 5, but you can still sculpt the hand and you can still draw the cards. Where Necro isn't technically drawing, with Necro Dominance instead of Necropotence, your opponent can have out a Shelly or some card draw hate or things of that nature that actually makes Necro Dominance worse. And Necropotence is just a better card at a higher power level, even though some decks want both. Some decks want both of those cards. So they're kind of at the same power level, but if you compare them against each other, Necropotence is just a step better than Necro Dominance. So it made the list. It should have always been here. Looking at the original Game Changer list and the card engines and things that they put on there, it didn't make any fucking sense in the world to me that Necropotence was not on that list. I'm glad it's on that list now. So far, I agree with everything. Like, I've got no issues with anything that took place here. The Game Changers list is what I feel like Commander needed this entire time. It just needed to be refined in such a way where you can't take advantage of these loopholes, where it is in black and white. And I believe now that that's pretty much accomplished here. There might be a few things they can add to it with the expanding on the depth of the philosophy of what you're trying to accomplish in what bracket of deck that you're building. But so far, I completely agree. There's very few tweaks I would do to this at all. There are probably a few more cards that will land on here that deserve to be on here. But there are also probably a good 10, 12 cards that could come off the ban list and be put immediately on here. So with that being said, other than the really light unbanning, I really do agree with all this shit. I really do agree with all of it. And I can keep going to expand on that point. So there are a few more cards. Bowmasters, I talked about that already. You can wheel. It can do ridiculous things. Yes, it does draw hate. Yes, it does remove creatures, and you can bully with it. Not particularly better than Hall Breacher. They're kind of on par, in my opinion. It's on here. Deflecting Swap. Everybody said that card should have been on the Game Changers list. It's why were they so easy on green and red in the original Game Changers list when you have cards like Deflecting Swap that you can play for free with your commander out? That can be a counter spell or just a takeover commandeer type of spell where you can just take over somebody's value. So Deflecting Swap, glad it made it on here. Absolutely deserved to be on here. Gamble. 1-drop tutors. We talked about 1-drop tutors. Everybody was talking about 1-drop tutors after the original Game Changers list dropped, where they just nailed the hell out of black. But there's these still tutors that are considered fair, right? That are considered not at the highest power, but they're still very powerful. Like a Diabolic Intent, for example. It's a 2-drop. Extremely powerful card. I forget the name of the 3-drop one, but that card, it adds right to your hand. You don't have to sacrifice. You do take some damage. But because it costs a little bit more mana, it's like the most efficient kind of package of tutors that you can have in your deck that aren't Game Changers. So I'm okay with that. There's even more. But they have, at the lower tiers, they have these few tutors caveat where I think it's like 3 or 4 if you got like a creature tutor. So it's kind of a gray area there. But if they're more fair tutors, why not, right? Like, it costs 3 mana, 2 mana, or something, 4 mana or more to tutor. Well, then it's probably okay. But Gamble, 1 mana. 1 mana tutor, deserved to be on there. Glad they hit it. Now, continuing on, we got Crop Rot. So Crop Rotation is a 1 mana green land tutor. Same type of reason why we're talking about Prime Time here. So Primeval Titan probably could have came off the list if they're putting Crop Rot on notice that it is a game changer. So your deck has to be built around the idea that you're fetching for certain types of lands. Very powerful lands that are going to either shut your opponent out, stacks them down, or give you an obscene amount of advantage turn after turn after turn. So Crop Rot, it's on here. Only caveat I got to add is that if Crop Rot is a game changer and it's not banned, then Primeval Titan probably could be okay. Crop Rotation is a 1 mana fucking card. Costs 1 green mana. You can float the mana, put it in your mana pool, Crop Rot, the other land comes in untapped. So it even kind of ramps you in a way at the most highest power. But in lower power decks, there's other cards that you'd want to run other than Crop Rot if you're not doing an unfair land thing with Crop Rot. Even like Field of the Dead, where I don't think it's really a game changer, but it's on here in certain tiers and certain play groups. Field of the Dead can get completely out of hand. It's not as good as some of these other lands that are on here, and there's probably some more that are better even than Field of the Dead. But it left us some feel bads in the wrong people's some bad taste in the wrong people's mouths that are on the new Commander format panel. So they felt, a majority of those people felt that Crop Rotation should be on there. I agree with it. Like, there's really only busted things that you're going to do with Crop Rot in a lower power deck. There's no real reason to have that in there. Just put other cards in there like 3 Wishes and stuff like that. Allow you to go fetch for the Shock or the Triome or whatever the hell it is that you want. That's not a busted land. And if you do want the busted land and your whole deck is built around it, then why can't that be one of your game changers? You get 3. There's other cards you can use like Urza's Cave or something like that. There's other cards you can use to get that exact land that are fair or deemed fair. Crop Rotation's on there. Food Chain. There's no fair way to play Food Chain. You play Food Chain to make infinite mana. So people can do a fair Food Chain, use it kind of like Birthing Pod, but it doesn't get used that way. It gets used to create infinite mana with Squee, Mist Hologriffin, and something Scourge, the Eldrazi that does the same thing as all the rest of them, where you sack it and you just keep playing it from exile over and over and over again to the Food Chain to create infinite mana of all your colors for creatures. Then you play your commander, sack it to the Food Chain, replay it to get whatever ETB advantage that you can get out of the Food Chain to win the game. So if you're doing Food Chain in a different way, where you're not using it to play your commander, where you're making infinite creature mana for Expel or something like that, infinite Hydra or something like that, it's still very unfair. So I don't know what the fuck you're thinking. People that are arguing that Food Chain should not be on there. Food Chain absolutely is like I think it's like the 3rd or 4th best win con in all of Commander in CEH. It's up there. It's way up there. It's definitely top 5. So because of that, it should be on here. Food Chain, it's on here. We're like, live with it. All right. So the next card, Natural Order. That card, I did want to talk about that before. That's one of them cards that everybody was kind of talking about as well. But it's not just Natural Order. That wasn't really the card that everybody was talking about. I mean, there's like 4 or 5 cards that do the same thing. So there's Green Sun Zenith, and that puts any green creature equal to X on your field from your library. You search, get the card, but it costs a lot of mana, and you have to pay exactly that amount of mana. It can be countered, things of that nature. So Green Sun Zenith obviously isn't the best one, but it's in that kind of same class, right? So there's a few other cards that do this similar. Chord of Calling. You can search for any creature with Chord of Calling, X or less, and it's 3 green instead of 1 like Green Sun Zenith, but you're not limited to green creatures. So it's better for creature combo decks that need a creature that's not a green creature to go off with their combo, or to help them go off with their combo. Arguably, Chord of Calling's better. Natural Order allows you to search for any creature? I think it's any creature. And it's X. It's got X. But no, it's not. It don't have X. It's 4 mana. That's what it is. So Natural Order is 4 mana, but you sack a creature. And then you search for any creature and put it into play. So it's very versatile because that it's got the Chord of Calling type. You can search for any creature, but all you have to do is sack a creature, and it's 4 mana. So it's a little more versatile, a little more efficient than Chord of Calling, because let's say the creature you need is a 4 or 5 mana creature. With Chord of Calling, that costs you, 6 or 7 mana. Where with Natural Order, you can do it for 4. So kind of stacks in a certain kind of way. The one that I thought should have been on the list is actually one of these other two. It's either Finale of Devastation or Eldritch Evolution. Now, Eldritch Evolution works a lot like Court of Calling and a lot like Natural Order, where you sack a creature, so it's a lot more like Natural Order. Then you can search for a creature, any creature, put it into the play, and it's only 3 mana, so it's 1 mana less, but you get a creature mana value or CMC X, where X is the creature you sacked, mana value, or CMC plus 2. So I actually think that Natural Order versus Eldritch Evolution, there's a real argument to say Eldritch Evolution is a little better than Natural Order. But Natural Order, you can sack up a 1-drop creature and go get a 10-drop. Doesn't matter. So there's an argument to say that Natural Order is the more efficient, more clean line in a green deck, creature tutor-wise, than Eldritch Evolution. There's arguments for all these cards. So the other one is Finale of Devastation. And that one, it's a little more like Green Sun Zenith, but you can search for any creature. It is X or less, right? So it's 2/2 green, so it's a little worse than Green Sun in that way. Then you pay X, but it's a little better than these other cards in another way. It can be used as a win con, and it is in a lot of CDH decks, or high power like bracket 4 decks that are like fringe CDH, or like not tournament CDH, but still very, very strong. Like as top as strong as you can get that particular commander. And they'll run Finale of Devastation, because they pump into X, and if they've created enough mana and X is 10 or more, not only do they get that creature X or less, it doesn't have to be exact like in Green Sun, they get that creature X or less right onto the fucking battlefield, right? They also will get that plus X, trample and haste to all their creatures if they spent 10 mana or more. So in a high power deck, or in a CDH deck, where you're making infinite mana or a butt ton of fucking mana, you can just pay a butt ton of fucking mana into X. And Finale of Devastation becomes that much better than all the rest of the cards in that category. But the one that they hit was Natural Order. So I'm okay with it, right? Like, there's arguments for each card. They hit the one they hit because it's arguably the most efficient and the most versatile of its class. Even though there are cards that there's arguments for each other card in that class that says that card might be better than Natural Order. So we'll move on. Seaborn Muse. Powerhouse in EDH. Powerhouse in a lot of CEDH decks. You play it and you untap all your shit, everybody's upkeep, and it basically gives you like an extra turn. If you got the right type of deck, or an interactive deck, or control deck, you're basically taking a turn during everybody else's turn, which is kind of like chaining extra turns. So if you see it in a bracket 3, control deck, it's kind of like a way that they're chaining extra turns without chaining extra turns. So it makes perfect sense that it's a game changer then, right? Because they can do something that's completely busted if they build their deck right and kind of skate the rules of that particular bracket. I'm completely okay with it. What other 2 cards are you throwing in there to go with your Seaborn Muse to bust that deck wide open to where it's, going to be that much stronger than every other bracket 3? I don't think so. Seaborn Muse, completely agree with it. Moving on. Worldly Tutor goes back to the 1-drop tutors. Everybody was like, well, why the fuck didn't they hit Worldly Tutor? There's another one. I think it's Sylvan Tutor or something like that. That's the same exact thing. One's an instant, one's a sorcery. I think Worldly Tutor is the instant. I don't remember. One's an instant, one's a sorcery. They do the same exact thing. Put a creature on top of your library for creature combo decks. It's busted. It's 1 mana. Perfect game changer. I'm glad that they had some consistency here. That they decided, hey, you know what? We're showing a little bit of inconsistency. We're kind of favoring green, even though in lower power brackets, green's the most powerful color. They needed to hit green with some of these cards, and I'm, completely okay with it. And everything is great. I really think they ironed it out in such a way where it makes these lines black and white, so you can clearly see what is okay and what isn't. There's a philosophy behind each bracket. There's a philosophy behind every single card on the Game Changer list. So, Worldly Tutor should have been on there the whole time. It's on there now. Thank God. The one card I don't really agree with, other than like Field of the Dead, there's some cards that I'm like, okay. Is Aura Shards. Aura Shards is a feel bad card. It is a salty card. People get pissed when you land at Aura Shards, and you can follow it up in an Enchantress deck with a bunch of other plays to blow up everybody's shit. So it's basically mass destruction. But it's not a board wipe. It is only a couple mana. It is an old card. It's a great card. Powerful card. But is it as powerful as some of this other shit? Is there a reason why it should be on there? It's not even really played at the highest level. But I do see, because I play it in an Enchantress deck where it can get out of hand. And I can chain other cards with other enchantments with Aura Shards. Now I do have to take a real good look at that deck. And I think it's, there's another card that's a game changer I should just take right out of there. So the deck will still play at a 3. And it's not going to be Aura Shards, because Aura Shards is more intrinsic on the deck. So I'm still going to play Aura Shards. It's still going to be a power 3 deck. I just kind of got to take something else that's really powerful out of the deck. Okay, compromises have to be made. No big deal. Aura Shards, don't particularly agree with it, but it's there. So we got Notion Thief. We already talked about Notion Thief. It's like Hull Breacher. It's like Narset. It's like Bone Masters. You can play it with wheels and do some nasty stuff and get some really unfair advantage. Should be there, because the wheels aren't there. So if you're sitting there playing a bunch of fucking wheels and you're wheeling into Notion Thief and shit like that, and Bone Masters, well then those should probably be your game changers, because they're the most powerful cards in your deck at that point. If you're playing wheels, other than like Shieldred. Shieldred costs 4 fucking mana. Alright, so Notion Thief, he's on there. Field of the Dead, we already talked about Field of the Dead. I don't particularly agree with that card either. I don't really think it's a game changer, but if you build your whole deck around it, it can be very, very powerful, especially in lower tiers. If you're playing a bunch of landfall shit and a bunch of ramp, a crazy like turbo ramp, and you're playing like Balas and that new dragon card and some, Belladros or some shit like that, allows you to untap all your mana and do more things that allow you to play 3, 4, 5 mana in a turn, because you got a critical mass of those effects on the field. Then Field of Dead can get completely out of hand. But it normally doesn't. It's normally a fair value engine, in my opinion. I don't really think Field of the Dead should be a game changer, but it is. So, if Field of the Dead is one, why isn't Valakut? Right? Valakut's a little better. Why isn't Dark Depths? I think Dark Depths is a little better than Field of the Dead. Maybe that's my bias, because I like to play Dark Depths, but I don't particularly play Field of the Dead. I would play it in like a dedicated landfall turbo ramp list. I absolutely would. But does that make that deck more powerful than a bracket 3? Probably not. So the last card on here, it's another card I believe I mentioned. Other people have mentioned it. So if you're watching my video, you've probably watched a bunch of other videos on the subject and listened to everybody else's fucking opinion. They have a little more stock than mine. I've only got, what do I got? I got like 81 subscribers, right? Like this channel was originally an occultic channel before it became a magic channel. And I think before that it was like a PT physical fitness channel. And so this channel has had some transitions over the years. And other people's opinions probably hold a little more weight than mine. But I do believe I talked about Mishra's Workshop. It's a land, a very powerful land. And if we've got Ancient Tomb is on there, because it can give you 2 mana, it costs 2 life. Mishra's Workshop should have been on there. It gives you 3 mana, 3 colorless mana in 1 land. And it's only to play artifact spells, I believe. But it's completely fucking reasonable it's on there. If you're playing, I think it's like a $2,000 card. If you're playing Mishra's Workshop, you probably proxied it for one, because it's a reserve list card. It can't be reprinted. But if you're not, and you're playing it in a dedicated artifact deck, and you're trying to pub stomp a bunch of bracket 3 players, and be like, it's not a game changer, well then shame on you, dude. Because you're the dude that's trying to pub stomp people at a lower level, misrepresenting your deck, being a bad actor, and all this shit that everybody talks about. So, that being said, that concludes my video and my opinions on the subject of the recent BnR announcement. Like I said, man, I finally got my house. Congrats to me. I've been waiting for that for a long time, living out of that truck. Now I finally got all my magic stuff kind of set out and organized in such a way I can deck build and do all kinds of other stuff with it again. I can play a little more often when I'm home from the road and not working. I've got stations set up to play Spell Table. I'm doing game videos on Arena, and I will start to do some videos at home and at friends' houses, and maybe even revisit this summer the cross-country Commander in my truck, because I'll be able to build decks, take the decks with me, which I haven't been doing for a while. the bag became so ridiculously heavy that I just carried like my whole deck builder box, my whole kit, all my decks, all this stuff, my laptop. So now I can condense it, and you'll see a lot more of that in the future as I transition to try to evolve the channel a little bit to get gameplay more involved. And that's it for me, y'all. Peace the fuck out. I'm Mr. J. This is W.A.D. Mtg. Welcome to my house. Thanks, y'all. See y'all next time. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Deuces.